The frequency was wrong. That was the first thing Dara Okonkwo noticed as she leaned closer to her console. After 12 hours of monitoring dead space around Europa Station, her tired eyes had almost missed it. But there it was. A signal using a transmission method that the galactic community had abandoned 300 years ago because they considered it too primitive. Dara ran the signal through her translation software. The message came through broken and desperate. Raiders have surrounded our cities. We cannot fight. 3 cycles before they take everything. Our children are in the nursery spires. Please, if anyone can hear this, please help us. The message repeated. Again and again. A cry into the darkness from someone who had already lost hope that anyone would answer. Dara pulled up the source coordinates. The signal came from a Vanthri colony world called Serenus. She knew about the Vanthri from her academy training. They were a peaceful species who lived in massive floating cities above endless oceans. Their homeworld had never known predators. They had never fought wars. They had no word for murder in their language until they joined the galactic community and learned that such things existed. The Vanthri had no military, no weapons, no way to defend themselves. Dara immediately forwarded the signal to United Earth Naval Command. Within minutes, Admiral Priya Sharma was reviewing the transmission in her office. The admiral was 62 years old with gray hair and sharp eyes that had seen too many battles. She listened to the distress call 3 times before speaking. Who sent the raiders? She asked her aide. Dracathi, Admiral. A nomadic species. They target colonies that cannot fight back, strip them of resources, technology, and take prisoners for slave labor. How many ships? 12 confirmed. Approximately 8,000 raiders total. Admiral Sharma pulled up the Galactic Response Network. The nearest peacekeeping fleet was stationed 18 standard days away. The Vanthri colony would be destroyed in 3. And our nearest asset? She asked. The UN Relentless, Admiral. Currently completing patrol exercises in Sector 7. They could reach Serenus in 14 hours. The Relentless, humanity's newest warship. 340 crew members. 1 ship against 12 that Admiral Sharma had served in the Earth Defense Force for 40 years. She had watched humanity crawl out of their own ashes after nearly destroying themselves. She had seen them build a civilization from the ruins of old wars. And she had watched them join a galactic community that did not understand them. The galaxy thought humans were soft. They saw human diplomats talking about peace and cooperation. They saw human aid workers helping after disasters. They saw humans crying at sad stories and laughing at silly jokes. The galaxy did not understand that humans could be all these things and still be the most dangerous species in known space. Earth had taught its children hard lessons. Predators existed. Violence was real. The strong often crushed the weak. But Earth had also taught them something else. The strong could choose to protect instead of destroy. That was what made humans different. Admiral Sharma opened a direct channel to the Relentless. Captain Adeyemi, she said when the connection established. I am sending you a distress signal. A Vanthri colony is under attack by Dracathi raiders. 12 ships, 8,000 hostiles, 50,000 children in their nursery spires. The peacekeeping fleet cannot arrive in time. You are the only option. There was silence on the other end. Then Captain Samuel Adeyemi's deep voice came through. Admiral, are we authorized to engage? You are authorized to answer that distress call by any means necessary, Captain. Those people called for help. We are going to answer. Understood, Admiral. Relentless out. The channel closed. Admiral Sharma leaned back in her chair and closed her eyes. She had just sent 340 of her people against impossible odds to save strangers they had never met. Some would call it foolish. Some would call it reckless. She called it being human. 14 hours later, the Relentless dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Serenus system. Captain Samuel Adeyemi stood at the center of his bridge, his dark hands clasped behind his back. The main view screen showed the Vanthri colony world. Beautiful floating cities dotted the endless blue ocean. Magnificent spires reached toward the sky, and surrounding those cities were 12 Dracathi raider vessels. Ugly ships covered in weapons and scars from previous conquests. They had already begun landing troops in the outer districts. Captain, Lieutenant Commander Yuki Tanaka reported from her station. I count approximately 2 million Vanthri civilians in the primary city. 50,000 children confirmed in the central nursery spires. Drakathi forces have secured 3 landing zones. Captain Adeyemi studied the tactical display. 12 against 1. 8,000 against 340. The math was not in their favor, but math had never stopped humans before. Lieutenant Tanaka, he said quietly, plot attack vectors for all 12 hostile vessels. Mr. Reyes, power up all weapons systems. Communications, open a channel to the Drakathi command ship. His crew moved with practiced efficiency. No fear, no hesitation. They had trained for this. They had been born for this. The communications officer looked up. Channel open, Captain. Captain Adeyemi straightened his uniform. Somewhere down on that colony world, millions of innocent people were waiting to die. Children were huddled in crystalline pods, not understanding why monsters had come to hurt them. Those people had called for help, and humanity had answered. Drakathi vessels, Captain Adeyemi said, his voice calm and steady. This is Captain Samuel Adeyemi of the United Earth Navy warship Relentless. You have threatened civilians under our protection. You have exactly 60 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender. This is your only warning. The countdown began. Elder Counselor Mirith had never known fear until 3 days ago. Her species had no natural predators. Their world had no dangerous animals. For 10,000 years, the Vanthari had lived in peace, building beautiful cities that floated above calm oceans. They had never needed to learn violence. Now she understood why other species had invented weapons. Mirith stood on the observation deck of Harmony's Rest, the largest city on Serenus. 2 million of her people lived here. 50,000 children developed in the crystalline nursery spires at the city's center. And surrounding them all were 12 ugly ships filled with creatures who wanted to take everything. The Drakathi had arrived without warning. Their commander, a scarred beast named Grost, had broadcast his demands across all frequencies. He wanted their resources, their technology, and 10,000 Vanthari workers to serve as slaves. Mirith had sent distress calls to every frequency she knew. The Galactic Peacekeeping Authority had responded. Help was coming. In 18 days, they would all be dead or enslaved by then. She watched as Drakathi landing craft descended toward the outer districts. Her people had nowhere to run. They could not fight. All they could do was wait and hope that somehow, someone would save them. A young Vanthari child approached her. The child's name was Celis, and she had wandered away from the evacuation group heading toward the central spires. Elder Mirith, Celis said, her large eyes filled with confusion. Why do the monsters want to hurt us? We have not done anything wrong. Mirith did not have an answer. She knelt down and placed her hand on the child's shoulder. I do not know, little one. Sometimes there are beings in the universe who hurt others simply because they can. It is not fair. It is not right. But it is real. Will someone help us? Before Mirith could answer, her communication device activated. Commander Grost's harsh voice filled the observation deck. Vanthari Colony, you have 1 rotation to meet our demands. Deliver all resources to the designated coordinates. Prepare 10,000 workers for transport. If you do not comply, we will begin harvesting your people ourselves, starting with the nursery spires. The transmission ended. Mirith felt something cold spread through her body. The nursery spires, where 50,000 children floated in their development pods. Defenseless, innocent, she looked at Celis. The child did not understand the threat, but she could see the fear on Mirith's face. Elder, what is harvesting? Mirith pulled the child close and held her tight. She had no words, no comfort to offer. They were alone, and no one was coming. Then her communication device activated again. But this time, the voice was different. Calm, steady, speaking a language she did not recognize at first. Her translator took a moment to process it. Drakathi vessels, this is Captain Samuel Adeyemi of the United Earth Navy warship Relentless. You have threatened civilians under our protection. You have exactly 60 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender. This is your only warning. Mirith rushed to the observation window. There, at the edge of the sensor display, was a single ship, small compared to the Drakathi raiders. Alone against 12 enemies, she had heard of humans. They were new to the galactic community, a young species from a dangerous world. They talked about peace and cooperation. They sent aid workers and diplomats. The galaxy considered them soft, but one of their warships had just challenged 12 Drakathi raiders across the city Every Vanthari who could access a display watched the confrontation unfold. On the Drakathi command ship, Commander Grost laughed when he received the transmission. His laughter echoed through his bridge. "One ship?" he said to his crew. "The humans send one ship? They are even more foolish than the stories say." Grost opened a return channel. "Human vessel. You are outnumbered 12 to 1. Your species is weak. You talk of rights and feelings while real warriors take what they want. Turn around and run back to your soft little world. This colony belongs to us now." Captain Adeyemi's response was immediate. 30 seconds remaining. Grost's amusement faded. The human was not afraid. That bothered him more than he wanted to admit. He turned to his weapons officer. "Target that ship. Destroy it. Show these humans what happens when prey challenges predators." On the observation deck, Mirith watched 12 Drakathi vessels turn their weapons toward the single human ship. The child Celis tugged at her robe. "Elder, is the new ship going to help us?" Mirith did not know how to answer. One ship against 12. 300 humans against 8,000 Drakathi. The mathematics were impossible, but the human captain had not hesitated. He had heard their distress call and come anyway. That meant something. Even if they failed, even if they died, they had answered. Someone had finally answered. "I do not know, little one," Mirith whispered. "But they are trying." The Drakathi opened fire. Energy weapons blazed across the void toward the human warship. Mirith expected to see the small vessel torn apart in seconds. Instead, she saw something that would change her understanding of the universe forever. The human ship did not retreat. It did not evade. It flew directly into the barrage, shields flaring with light, and it kept coming. Faster and faster. Straight toward the Drakathi fleet. Grost's laughter had stopped. The wolves had arrived. But they were not the Drakathi. They were the humans. Commander Grost had conquered 37 colonies in his career. He had broken species who thought themselves warriors. He had crushed defenses built by civilizations far older than his own. He knew what battle looked like. He knew what victory felt like. This was neither. The human warship absorbed his fleet's opening barrage like it was nothing. Shields that should have collapsed held firm. A ship that should have been torn apart kept advancing. And then it started shooting back. The first Drakathi raider lost its engines in a single precise strike. No warning. No chance to react. One moment it was firing at the human vessel. The next it was drifting dead in space. "All ships, concentrate fire." Grost screamed into his communicator. "It is one ship. Destroy it." 11 remaining raiders turned everything they had toward the Relentless. The space around the human vessel became a storm of energy and destruction. Any normal ship would have been vaporized in seconds. The Relentless was not a normal ship. On the bridge, Captain Adeyemi watched the tactical display with calm eyes. His crew worked around him in perfect coordination. Lieutenant Commander Tanaka called out targets. Weapons Officer Diego Reyes directed fire with surgical precision. The ship moved through the enemy barrage like a dancer through raindrops. "Target Vessel 3, disable their weapons array," Adeyemi ordered. "Vessel 7 is trying to flank us. Mr. Reyes, discourage them." Reyes smiled slightly. "With pleasure, Captain." 2 more Drakathi ships went dark. Their weapons offline. Their engines crippled. Not destroyed. Just stopped. Grost could not understand what he was seeing. The human weapons were not like anything in his experience. They hit exactly where they aimed. They disabled without destroying. It was as if the humans were choosing not to kill. That made no sense. In battle, you killed your enemies. That was how it worked. That was how it had always worked. "Commander," his sensor officer reported, voice shaking. "We have lost 4 vessels. The human ship is undamaged." For ships in under 3 minutes. Against 1 enemy, Grost felt something he had not experienced in decades. Fear. Real fear. The kind that made his hands tremble and his thoughts scattered out on Serenus below. The Vanthari watched the battle unfold on their displays. Elder Mirith stood frozen, unable to look away. She had never witnessed combat before. She had no frame of reference for what she was seeing. One ship was dismantling a fleet. The young child Celis watched beside her. "Elder, the human ship is winning." "How is it winning?" "I do not know," Mirith whispered. An older Vanthari, a historian named Orith, moved to stand beside them. His voice was quiet and thoughtful. "I have studied humans," he said. "Their history, their world. I thought I understood them. I was wrong." "What do you mean?" Mirith asked. Their planet is a death world. Extreme temperatures, natural disasters, predators in every environment. Their own biology turns against them with diseases and mutations. They should have gone extinct 100 times over. But they survived. They did more than survive. They conquered their world. They fought their environment and won. They fought each other for thousands of years, perfecting the art of war until they nearly destroyed themselves. Then they stopped. They chose peace. They built a civilization based on cooperation instead of conquest. Mirith looked back at the display. The human ship was engaging 2 more Dracathi raiders. They seemed to remember how to fight. That is what the galaxy does not understand, Orith said. Humans did not forget violence. They chose to control it. They locked it away behind rules and morals and laws. But it is still there. It will always be there. And when something threatens the innocent, they unlock the cage. In space, Commander Grost made a desperate decision. His fleet was being systematically destroyed. He could not win this fight. But perhaps he could change the terms. Signal the landing forces, he ordered. Capture one of the civilian transports. We will use their own people as shields. The humans care too much about innocent lives. They will not fire if we hide behind hostages. His remaining ships moved to protect a Dracathi landing craft that was returning from the surface. Inside the craft were 3,000 Vanthari, civilians taken from the outer districts. Prisoners, hostages, shields. Gross positioned his 3 strongest ships around the transport. Human vessel, he broadcast. We have 3,000 civilians aboard this transport. If you continue your attack, they will die. Stand down, or we will kill them all. On the relentless bridge, Captain Adeyemi's expression did not change. Lieutenant Commander Tanaka looked at him with concern. Captain, they have hostages. I see that, Commander. What do we do? Captain Adeyemi was silent for a long moment. The galaxy thought humans were soft because they cared about innocent lives. The galaxy thought compassion was weakness. The galaxy had never seen what humans did when someone threatened children. Mr. Reyes, Adeyemi said quietly, maintain weapons lock on all hostile vessels. Do not fire unless they attempt to harm the hostages. And the hostages themselves, Captain? Adeyemi turned to his communications officer. Get me Lieutenant Mendez. Tell her to prep her team for emergency boarding operations. The communications officer's eyes widened. Boarding, sir? Into a hostile ship. The Dracathi think hiding behind civilians will protect them. Adeyemi's voice went cold. They are about to learn what happens when humans get angry. Gross wanted to play with hostages. He was about to discover that humans played that game very differently. Lieutenant Rosa Mendez was eating dinner when the call came. She had been a Marine for 12 years. She had trained for situations like this. But training was one thing. Reality was another. Boarding action, she repeated into her communicator. Into a hostile ship with 3,000 civilians aboard. Correct, Lieutenant, Captain Adeyemi's voice responded. The Dracathi are using those people as shields. We are going to take those shields away. Non-lethal engagement. I want those hostages safe, and I want your team back in one piece. Understood, Captain. We will get it done. Mendez assembled her team in the shuttle bay. 40 Marines. The best the Relentless had to offer. They checked their weapons and loaded non-lethal ammunition. Stun rounds. Shock grenades. Restraint cables. Everything designed to incapacitate without killing. Some species would have considered this weakness. Humans knew better. Killing was easy. Winning without killing was hard. That was why they trained to do it. The boarding shuttle launched from the Relentless and accelerated toward the Dracathi transport. In space, the battle had paused. Gross remaining ships surrounded the civilian transport, confident that the humans would not risk harming the hostages. They were half right. Dracathi vessel, Captain Adeyemi broadcast. We are sending a team to recover our civilians. If you interfere, we will destroy your remaining fleet without hesitation. This is not a negotiation. Gross laughed. You are bluffing. You humans care too much. You will not risk 3,000 lives. I am not risking them. I am saving them. Mendez, you are clear for approach. The boarding shuttle reached the transport and locked onto an access hatch. Marines in combat armor cut through the door and entered the ship. Inside, it was chaos. The Dracathi had not expected this. Hostages were supposed to make enemies retreat, not attack. They scrambled to respond, but they were not prepared for what came through that door. Humans fought differently than any species in the galaxy. They moved in coordinated teams. They communicated without words. They seemed to know where each other would be before they moved. Years of training and evolution had created something unique. Pack hunters who could think and adapt. Lieutenant Mendez led her team through the transport's corridors. They moved fast, efficient. Every Dracathi they encountered was neutralized in seconds. Stun rounds dropped raiders before they could raise weapons. Shock grenades disabled groups of enemies at once. The Marines did not stop. They did not hesitate. In one corridor, a Dracathi warrior grabbed a Vanthari child and held a blade to her throat. "Stop," he screamed. "Stop, or I kill this one." Mendez did not stop. She raised her weapon and fired once. The stun round hit the Drekathi's neck. He collapsed instantly, the blade falling from his limp fingers. The Vanthari child stood frozen, unharmed. A Marine named Private Obi knelt beside the child. "You are safe now," he said gently. "We are here to take you home." The child did not understand his language, but she understood his tone. She understood the kindness in his eyes. She reached out and grabbed his armored hand out on the bridge of the transport. The Dracathi captain tried to organize a defense. It was useless. The humans moved through his ship like ghosts. Every defensive position fell. Every ambush failed. Within 20 minutes, the transport was secured. Mendez reported to Captain Adeyemi. "Package secure, Captain. All 3,000 civilians are safe. 0 friendly casualties. 0 civilian casualties. And the Dracathi? 47 unconscious. 23 restrained. No deaths." There was a pause on the channel. When Adeyemi spoke again, his voice carried a hint of pride. "Well done, Lieutenant. Bring them home." In space, Commander Grost watched his hostage strategy collapse. His leverage was gone. His fleet was crippled. And the human warship was now turning its full attention back to him. "Commander," his sensor officer whispered, "we have 3 functional ships remaining. The humans have not lost a single crew member. What do we do?" Gross' mind raced. He had never been defeated like this. He had never even come close. The humans had not just beaten him. They had humiliated him. And they had done it while refusing to kill. That was the part he could not understand. They had the power to destroy him. They had every right to take revenge for the threats he made. Instead, they showed mercy. Not weakness. Mercy. His communications console activated. Captain Adeyemi's face appeared on screen. The human looked tired but determined. "Commander Grost," Adeyemi said, "you have lost. Your hostages are free. Your fleet is broken. You can surrender now, or you can find out what happens when we stop being gentle. I am offering you one chance. Take it." Grost looked at his remaining crew. They were afraid. He could see it in their eyes. They had believed humans were soft. They had believed this would be easy. They had been fools. All of them. "If I surrender," Grost said slowly, "what happens to my crew? You will be detained and turned over to the Galactic Peacekeeping Authority for trial. You will be fed, given medical care, and treated according to standard prisoner protocols. No torture. No executions. That is not how we do things." Mercy again. Even now, Grost closed his eyes. He had been a raider for 40 years. He had taken what he wanted and destroyed what he could not take. He had never once shown mercy to anyone. The humans showed it to him anyway. "We surrender," he said quietly. On Serenus below, 2 million Vanthari watched as the Dracathi weapons went silent. The nightmare was over. The humans had won. Dr. Amara Ibrahim had seen suffering before. She had worked in refugee camps. She had treated survivors of natural disasters. She had held dying patients and promised them peace. But she had never seen anything like the nursery spires of Serenus. 50,000 Vanthari children floated in crystalline pods, their development cycles interrupted by terror they could not understand. The pods monitored their vital signs. Heart rates elevated. Stress hormones flooding small bodies. Fear. Dr. Ibrahim moved through the nursery with her medical team. They could not treat the children directly. The pods were designed for Vanthari biology, not human intervention. But they could be present. They could speak softly. They could let the children know that the monsters were gone. "It will be okay," she whispered to a pod containing a tiny Vanthari no bigger than her hand. "You are safe now. We are here." On the observation deck of Harmony's Rest, Elder Counselor Mirith received a communication from the human warship. Captain Adeyemi's face appeared on her display. "Counselor," he said, "are your people safe? Do you need medical assistance?" Mirith struggled to respond. "An hour ago, She had been preparing her people for enslavement or death. Now a stranger was asking if she needed help. The shift was too fast. Too much. We have wounded in the outer districts, she finally managed. The Drakathi hurt many of our people before you arrived. We are sending medical teams now. Dr. Ibrahim will coordinate with your healers. Is there anything else you need? I need to understand. Miritha's voice cracked. Why did you come? You are strangers. We have nothing to offer you. We cannot repay this debt. Why did you risk your lives for us? Captain Adeyemi was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was gentle. You called for help, counselor. That was enough. That cannot be enough. Nothing is free. Everyone wants something. Then perhaps we want something you cannot see yet. We want a galaxy where people answer distress calls. We want a universe where the strong protect the weak instead of exploiting them. We want to be the kind of species that does the right thing, even when it is hard. Mirith did not know how to respond to that. It was so foreign to her understanding of power and politics. The strong always took from the weak. That was the natural order. That was how things worked, except humans did not seem to follow that order. I request permission to visit your ship, Mirith said. I wish to understand your people better. You are welcome aboard the Relentless, counselor. I will send a shuttle. An hour later, Mirith walked through the corridors of the human warship. What she found confused her more than the battle had. There were family photographs on the walls, personal items in crew quarters, a small garden in one corner where plants from Earth grew under artificial light, a recreation room where off-duty personnel played games and laughed together. These were the people who had just defeated 12 warships. These gentle souls with their photographs and gardens had broken a raiding fleet without losing a single crew member. Her guide, a young officer named Tanaka, noticed her confusion. Is something wrong, counselor? I expected warriors, Mirith admitted. Cold, harsh, focused only on fighting. Tanaka smiled. We are warriors when we need to be, but we are also parents and children and friends. We have hobbies and dreams and fears. We love and we grieve and we laugh at bad jokes. Being capable of violence does not mean we are defined by it. How do you balance both? How do you switch between kindness and destruction? It is not switching. It is the same thing. Tanaka paused, considering her words. We fight because we care. We developed weapons because we wanted to protect what we love. The soldier and the gardener are not two different people. They are the same person, choosing which tool to use based on what the moment requires. Mirith thought about this as she was led to the bridge. Captain Adeyemi met her there. He was a large man with kind eyes and hands that could probably crush bone. But when he greeted her, his touch was gentle. Counselor Mirith, welcome aboard. Captain Adeyemi, thank you for what you have done for my people. Thank me by living well. Rebuild your colony. Raise your children. That is all the thanks we need. Through the bridge windows, Mirith could see her homeworld. The floating cities that had almost been destroyed. The nursery spires that had almost been emptied. All of it saved by strangers who asked for nothing in return. Captain, she said, my people have a tradition. When someone saves your life, you offer them a bond of kinship. You become family. Adeyemi raised an eyebrow. We have similar traditions on Earth. I would like to offer this bond to your people. Not just your ship. All humans. A formal alliance between the Vanthri collective and the human species. Not for trade or politics. For friendship. For family. The bridge went quiet. Even the beeping consoles seemed to pause. Counselor, Adeyemi said slowly. That is a significant offer. You earned it. You came when no one else would. You fought when you did not have to. You showed mercy when you could have shown cruelty. My people may not understand violence, Captain, but we understand gratitude. And we understand love. Adeyemi smiled. It transformed his face from stern warrior to warm friend. I would be honored to accept, Counselor. On behalf of humanity. Mirith reached out and touched his hand. Different species, different worlds, different histories, but in that moment, they were family. 3 months changed everything. The story of Serenus spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. A single human warship defeating 12 raiders. A boarding team rescuing 3,000 hostages without killing anyone. A species that showed mercy to enemies who had threatened children. The Galactic Council demanded answers. Fleet Commander Torvis stood before representatives from 400 species. His uniform was pressed. His posture was perfect. His voice was steady. But inside, He was still struggling to process what he had learned. The Serenus incident, he began, has revealed significant gaps in our understanding of humanity. We believed them to be a soft species, diplomatic, peaceful. We were not entirely wrong, but we were dangerously incomplete. He activated a holographic display showing the battle. The Council watched as one ship dismantled 12. Humans are capable of extreme violence, Torvis continued. Their homeworld is classified as a death world. Extreme temperatures, deadly predators, natural disasters that would destroy most civilizations. They survived by becoming the most effective hunters their planet had ever seen. A Valoran delegate raised a manipulator. Then why did they not conquer? With such capability, they could dominate weaker species. That is the question I have spent 3 months trying to answer. Torvis paused. I believe it is because they almost destroyed themselves. Their history includes countless wars, weapons capable of ending their entire civilization. They looked into the abyss of self-extinction and stepped back. Stepped back. They chose differently. They developed rules for warfare, protections for civilians, treaties against certain weapons. They created systems to channel their violent capabilities toward protection rather than conquest. They did not lose their ability to fight. They learned to control it. The Council murmured among themselves. This was not how powerful species behaved. Power was meant to be used. Strength existed to dominate. There is more, Torvis said. During the Serenus incident, the humans captured 93 Drakathi raiders. These prisoners were fed, given medical attention, and treated with dignity. Not because the humans were weak, because they believed it was right. That is inefficient, a karate delegate complained. Enemies should be eliminated. Perhaps, but the result is significant. Commander Grost, the Drakathi leader, has provided extensive testimony about the incident. He expressed something I have never heard from a captured raider before. Confusion. He could not understand why creatures capable of destroying him chose to show mercy instead. Torvis brought up an image of Grost in detention. The once proud raider looked smaller somehow, diminished. Grost's exact words were these: "We thought humans were prey. We were wrong. They are the most dangerous predators in the galaxy, but they choose to protect instead of hunt. I do not understand them. I do not think anyone truly can." The Council fell silent. On Serenus, the Vanthari were rebuilding. The outer districts damaged by Drakathi landing forces had been repaired. The nursery spires were peaceful again. And in the central plaza of Harmony's Rest, a new structure had been built. Elder Mirith stood before it now. A memorial garden, filled with plants from both Vanthari and human worlds growing together. A symbol of the bond between species. A shuttle descended from orbit. Ambassador Rosa Mendez stepped out, wearing diplomatic robes instead of combat armor. 3 months ago, she had led Marines through a hostile ship. Today, she came in peace. Mirith greeted her with a gesture she had learned from human custom. An embrace. Awkward at first, but genuine. "Thank you for coming," Mirith said. "You called," Mendez replied with a smile. "That is enough." They walked together through the memorial garden. Young Vanthari children played nearby, their fear fading with each passing day. Some of them had started learning human languages. Some had asked to visit Earth. "Your people have changed mine," Mirith said. "Before you came, we did not understand that violence could be controlled, that strength could protect instead of destroy. You have given us a new way of seeing the universe. You have given us something too," Mendez said. "A reminder of why we fight. Your people are innocent in ways we can never be again. Protecting that innocence reminds us what we are trying to preserve." They stopped at the center of the garden, where a single human oak tree grew beside a Vanthari crystal bloom. Different species, different worlds, growing together. "What happens now?" Mirith asked. "We keep going. There will be other distress calls, other colonies in danger, other people who need help. Will humans always answer?" Mendez looked up at the sky, where the stars were just becoming visible as evening fell. "We will try. We cannot save everyone. We cannot be everywhere. But we can try. That is all any species can do." A young Vanthari child approached them. Celis, the girl who had asked Mirith what the humans were. She carried a small flower from the garden. "Ambassador," she said, holding out the flower. "This is for you, for saving us." Mendez knelt down and accepted the gift. "Thank you, little one. But you saved yourselves too. You were brave when things were scary. That matters." Celis smiled and ran back to her friends. Mirith watched her go. 3 months ago, that child had been terrified. Now she laughed and played without fear. Because strangers had crossed the stars to help. What are humans? Celis had asked on that terrible day. Now Mirith knew the answer. They were guardians. They were protectors. They were the answer to distress calls that no one else would take. They were violence controlled by compassion. They were strength guided by mercy. They were humanity, and the galaxy would never see them the same way again.